I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, October 30th. It's 6:31 p.m. and this is the Committee of Development and Government Relations of the Holyoke City Council, and we are being recorded. We're being live streamed on the city's website and the public access station and on Zoom. So with me this evening in council chambers, we have Councilor David Bartley, and we have Councilor Joe McGivern, and Councilor Jenny Rivera is in the parking lot, and she will be here in a minute. And Councilor Linda Vacant has let us know that she will be arriving a little late, but we can get started. I'll entertain a motion to...
Make a motion to take up item 1 and open up the public hearing.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. So this is a public hearing. It's a petition of Laura Delmolino for a new special permit for a driveway in the front yard, and that pertains to our zoning ordinances, section 6.1.8.1, which is a special permit of the City Council, and this is for 176 Lincoln Street. And just to read into the record, the application indicates the purpose is to widen the driveway with a turnaround in front.
Hop the cord.
We are the application says we are the first house off of Route 5, and it is dangerous to back out into traffic coming around the corner off of Route 5. And so this evening we're joined by the applicant. Laura, if you'd like to, you can come inside and have a seat at one of these seats, or if you'd prefer, you can use that microphone there. Totally up to you.
Hello. Hi.
Great. So we have your special permit application, and it's for 176 Lincoln Street. So this is a public hearing. So if any of your neighbors or abutters wanted to come and share how they felt about the work, they could do that. They have the opportunity to do that. So I'll start with you, and then we'll have our committee ask any questions that they need to, and other counselors, and then we'll just see if there's anyone else from the public who wants to speak. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
So I moved to Holyoke in 2021 and bought that house. And the first thing we did was we wanted to have a turnaround in the front because it's dangerous to back out. There's a tree right at the end of my driveway that I don't think is mine, but it's huge, and it blocks the view of one side of the traffic, and it's very and there's people coming around off of 5 quickly, and if we hit someone, it's our fault. Mm-hmm. I have 2 college-age boys that don't really live with me full-time, but they're in and out, and it's dangerous.
Great.
So I hired Owens Construction back at the end of 2021, and they did the driveway. I didn't realize I needed a special permit, and it's there. So they didn't touch the sidewalk, that stayed the same. It's I have a map of it if you would like to have that.
Is that included? Is it this?
Yeah, maybe. I can't see that far.
Okay, sorry.
You can, that's the map of what it is.
Oh, yes, it is included in our, she's referring to this. Thank you.
So it was mostly for just the reason of backing out. We don't really intend to park there because
Okay.
we want it as a turnaround. It was just to be able to go out frontward.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want us to know?
No, I guess
Okay.
that's it.
All right, thank you. Counselors, I'll pause there and see if anyone here has any questions.
I do, but I'd rather hear from the public first, if you don't mind, so.
Sure. Is there anyone from the public who is in attendance related specifically to this order this special permit. Okay, I don't see any hands up on the Zoom as well.
Okay, Laura?
Yes.
I'm going to have a couple of questions, so if you could just go to the mic. Okay, welcome. And I know a few of us can give you the history of why there's a special permit, but this is a recent thing. So in the last 25, 30 years, by special permits for front yard driveways, and it has to do with I think primarily aesthetics. So that's why this was passed. It was before my time. It wasn't like 100 years ago, maybe 25, 30 years ago, and that's what the council then perceived to be an issue. So when everybody wants to have a permit such as yours, you have to come before us for a special permit. And then once we approve it, I'm sure you know this, you're gonna have to, you should record that at the Registry of Deeds too, I'm sure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, that's something you wanna,
Okay.
you talk to your lawyer. They'll figure it out. I don't want to give you legal advice, but you should record that. Okay. Really, so there's three parts to the ordinance, and I think you definitely meet two of them. But one, it's a little tricky, and it's really by the eye. And what the maker of that order and that ordinance was trying to drive at was to keep the front lawns as green as possible. So the ordinance says is at least 50%, green space. Would you?
Yes, there is more than 50%.
Yeah, I saw a photo today and I drove by. It looked like that is the case, but I just want to hear you
Yes.
confirm that. So, to me, I think that's the biggest part. Compatibility with the neighborhood, that's always important too. So I mean,
It's only a one lane, like 10 foot. My yard is a lot larger than that.
okay. And then Mr. Owens won't be impacting the sidewalks, correct?
No,
Okay. And he's,
not touched.
yeah, he's a reputable contractor. He's been doing this for a while. Okay, I think I had one other question, and I'm just trying to find my note here on this. Well, I don't want to monopolize, so I'll hang back for now, and I'll look for my other question. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McGivern?
Or just, I'm sure your contractor is reputable, but your contractor was responsible for contacting the city and should have. And that's a no-no on them. I understand you're using your existing curb cut, the original driveway.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
So nothing changed with like the way you enter or exit the driveway. It starts after the, you
Yep.
come into the driveway, then there's a sidewalk going across, and then he starts to widen it to do a turnaround.
Okay. He may not have been, as Councilor Bartley said, he may not have been aware of this special permit, but it is something, even though the curb cut was already approved a long time ago, he probably should have done it. You've given good reason as to why there's no neighbors here that are saying they're objecting, and I think any one of us can attest to the way cars come around that corner. It's scary.
Yeah.
Never mind backing out of a driveway. It's scary just to be walking on the sidewalk.
Right.
And certainly understand your need. Is there enough room from the sidewalk to make sure someone doesn't, when they're turning around, doesn't, interfere with a pedestrian walking on the sidewalk? Is there a buffer there?
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm guessing like 8 feet, something like that. It's not,
That'd be good, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, you're given good reason and things happen, but I certainly understand it and we'll vote in favor of it.
Okay.
Anyone else? Oh, Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, just through the chair to Joe. Joe, what was did they already cut the curb?
Well, there's an existing curb cut because there's an existing driveway, so they didn't have to cut the curb.
Right.
Yeah,
just-
nothing else changed.
They're just doing the in front of the house to do a turnaround.
Right. Yeah. So there's not going to be additional curb cut.
No.
Okay. So yeah, just the one.
Yeah.
Okay. And did we need to hear from the planning board on this? Or are they all?
They're all set.
They're all set.
Yep.
We don't need to hear from them.
Yep.
We have a communication from the former engineer.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm all set. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We'll do a roll call vote. Or I'm going to assume. Yes. Yes. Your vote will allow the granting of this special permit for 176 Lincoln Street. Councilor McGivern?
Yes.
Councilor Bartley?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
And myself, Councilor Murphy-ROMBOLETTI, yes. Great. So as I mentioned, that passed unanimously, and there's going to be, our next city council meeting will be in November.
Okay.
We'll find out. It's probably going to be by special meeting. And at that meeting, we'll all vote.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank you all.
coming in.
Thanks, Laura.
I'll make a
Motion to
motion to take 2 off the table.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 2 is filed by Councilor Anderson-Burgos, ordered that TJ O'Connor be invited into a subcommittee meeting to discuss how they serve the animal population of Holyoke, including the struggles they face and what Holyoke can do to help. And I believe this evening we are joined by Lori. Am I right? Awesome. Hi, Lori. Thank you for being here.
Lori Swanson, Executive Director from TJO.
Thank you so much, Lori. We appreciate you being here. And Councilor Anderson-Burgos, I'll let you kick it off.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as most people know already, who follow me on social media, we adopted a baby kitten, and we went to TJO to pick her up. And that's when I met with Lori, and she had described some of the struggles that they face in Holyoke and what they can do to help. So I wanted to, as you already know, when we vote on budget, they are one of the line items in our budget, and sometimes questions arise. So I figured let's have them come in and introduce and go over some of the services that they provide to the constituents in Holyoke. So
Great.
thank you, Lori, for coming.
Yeah, sorry, I was not feeling well at the end of the day. I was hoping to get there on purpose, but I figured I better stay safe and stay away from exposing anybody to what I'm feeling with. But I wanted to share a couple things because, when we look at the news today, I was sharing animal welfare as a whole is really in crisis these days. And I just want to share 2 different headlines. One is from the Boston Globe, which was just in July, which said, with more pets arriving on their doorstep, shelters are struggling to find homes. And another one that was in August, animal shelters are being overrun across the United States, reaching a 3-year high. And we're seeing that at TJO. And it's not just Holyoke. We're proud to serve Holyoke, Chicopee, and Springfield, with a mission of providing comprehensive animal control services and programs to our communities to not only protect animals and public health and the environment, but to responsibly place those animals into our community. And we do that through a variety of services. And of course, the one that is most evident to our public and to public safety, including the City of Holyoke, is animal control. And our priority, again, is always public safety and health. TJO Responds is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We respond to priority calls overnight. Anytime there's a priority call, we're responding 24 hours a day, and we're available to anybody in our community from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So we're there to meet the needs of the community and any animal that's in danger every day of the year. And having said that, we're really proud at TJO to ensure the well-being, not just of animals, but to ensure the safety of all of our community members. And animal control officers are responding, to anywhere from, depending on the year, anywhere typically around 5,000 to 6,000 calls a year that we're responding to, and that's within all of our community. And including in those calls, we are doing investigations for abuse, neglect, and bite reports. And we do quarantines for all of those bite reports at TJO as well. But the priority for us at TJO is to keep animals and families together. And when our animal control officers are in the field, our goal is to not have animals in our building. Our goal is what we would call intake diversion. So our focus is trying to help people into ordinance compliance by providing them, whatever resources they need to get their dog rabies vaccinated or spay or neutered, or assistance as far as, somebody that's leaving their dog tied up. Can we give you a crate? Can you keep your dog indoors? Do you need food? What do you need? Vouchers, spay or neuter? Anything that we can do to help our community to meet the needs of their pets and ensure the well-being of their pets. And so while our animal control officers are always involved in ordinance, compliance, it's really about doing a lot of education and resource, helping people with resources. We take in typically over the last 3 years, we take in anywhere from 2,500 to 2,800 animals a year. And one of the things that we're seeing lately, one of the trends that we're seeing is more and more dogs right now are actually our problem. The number of stray dogs has increased 41% over the last 3 years. And with that, the troubling trend is that the number of people that are claiming those dogs has gone down from 73% to 63% in 3 years. And so that's leaving us with questions as to, why can't people reclaim their pets? What can we do to help them get their pets back into their home? And, what can we do to help families in crisis? So with regard to, I could spend, an exorbitant amount of time talking about the services and what we do, but we surely are. Animal welfare is in crisis right now. Our shelter is extremely full. We are working, networking with local and state partners to work with gaining more resources and grants in order to help animals, because we're seeing more and more health issues, more and more behavioral issues. And so the more resources that we can get to develop our staff to work with animals, the better off animals are going to be, the more animals that we can save in our community. But I guess the question that, that I would pose is what can we do for the city of Holyoke? This is, we're proud to partner with the city of Holyoke, and I'm interested in hearing what the city of Holyoke is in need of, and what they're hearing from their constituents.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a great question, and a lot of really great information that you provided us with that, I think some people are familiar with what you do, but I think sometimes people don't know who to call and if they see or are witnessing something, so we appreciate that information. I'm going to pause and see if any counselors have any questions or ways that, TJO can support Holyoke. I'm good.
One of the things that I will say is we are working on, our staffing levels and increasing our outreach programs. We have been working on getting a staffing model that is more sustainable. We're working on redeveloping our website so it's user-friendly to people, and figuring out, how we can serve those people in our community that are underserved. We surely have not only a crisis in animal shelter, but that has come from a crisis in veterinary medicine. And it's left animals that are not able to access care. And that's a real problem that we face. We see people that just can't provide veterinary care, can't access behavioral support. It's something that is a systematic problem, and it is an outcome of the pandemic. Our increase in evictions are rising, and that surely is affecting animals and families in our community. And so we're working to try to meet these needs, and are eager to work with the City of Holyoke in order to do that.
Thank you. Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, Lori?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and thank you, Juan, for filing a really important order. And Lori, quite often the calls I get are really about animal control.
Yeah.
And do you have statistics on your number of calls you had by community in the last?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to pull it by community yet. We're having difficulty with some of our reports. I can tell you, I can pull them by jurisdiction and I can get that to you if you'd like. But typically, as far as animal control, the calls that we're fielding, in 2023 thus far, we've received 4,739 calls that animal control is responding to. And so we can break them down by city if that's something that would be helpful to you. And I think one of the things that is really important is that the message that we're trying to get out there is anytime anybody sees something that they feel that they're concerned about is that they call. Every time that they call, and that helps us to build cases and document concerns for animals, because often you get a call and somebody reports something and we go and whatever they're reporting is either the dog or the cat is not in the house, or we're not finding what they're seeing. And so we have to work together to continue to report and have people report every time they see, so that we have that documentation. And we're working on that through our website. We're redeveloping our website right now and hope to provide some of those resources and information in the new website once it's completed.
Yeah, that'll be a good addition. And then quite often I think we call 911, and so dispatchers are they're given information about TJO. You do to each of the communities you serve.
All of the police departments are really great about, if anybody's in danger, 911 is the appropriate place to call, right? And so that is first and foremost, even if it's an animal. And 911 also has direct contact with us. So we always say that imminent danger is 911. 911 is then easily accessed to us. And so it's hard for people to know what the number is for TJO. So imminent danger is 911, and then we respond. We respond often with Holyoke Police, Springfield Police, or Chicopee Police. So that is always first and foremost for us. Is imminent danger would be the police, and we often respond with them.
Yeah, that's a big help. So I'll just finish like this, Lori. So I have a two-family, and my tenant was putting out hot dogs. She cooked them, and she put them in the it's unbeknownst to me until I happened to go by, and there was a black bear sitting in the yard eating a hot dog. Mm-hmm. And so she no longer does that. Which is somewhat helpful. And then, but one of the things we learned that the HPD has not come by and so I called 911 about the black bear roaming all over West Glen Street, etc. And I don't know if it was captured or what, but that would the best first call be to TJO?
I think if it's, again, I think a report of a black bear, inhabiting close encounters of human proximity, I think is 911. Oftentimes, though, we do not typically respond to calls for wildlife. That is typically environmental police. And so sometimes that takes a little bit of ferreting out, because, when you're responding to animals like black bears and coyotes and things like that, there are appropriate avenues to go to. Our primary concern is public safety for companion animals. If there is a small animal that is posing, a raccoon or a skunk that's in a public place that is posing imminent threat to humans, we will respond. But wildlife is really not something that we're going to respond to, again, unless it's really causing imminent harm. For example, we got a call because there was a raccoon in the library this year. Or something in the schoolyard. So our animal control officers are trained to respond when there's imminent threat to wildlife. Most times we tell people, again, unless there's some animal that's posing direct threat, is that we leave them and let them, we let them, retreat to whatever their natural habitat is. But imminent threat is a very different thing. And we would rely on the police department and the environmental police.
Okay, thanks, Lori.
Councilor McGivern?
Thank you. And Lori, thank you. I've always been a big fan of TJ O'Connor, and your presentation is important this evening because people are listening, and I think constituents, want to be aware of what their options are when they have a need arises. I'm chuckling a little bit with the chair here, though, because you just said we have a black bear in our neighborhood 3 times a week. It walks through my daughter's yard, and then we're about 10 doors away, and it comes up and visits us. And black bears are wildlife. We get it. It's I've seen bobcats. I've seen a number. I saw a female mountain lion one night, which I was a little bit leery of. I was inside, thankfully. But with all due respect, raccoons and skunks are wildlife, and you respond for them. And I think we got to make it clear that, maybe it's the size of wildlife that you don't respond to.
Well, so typically we're not responding. I mean, wildlife is not our response. Our response is typically to those animals that are posing a threat, companion animals that are posing a threat to our community. Dogs, cats, whatever companion animals. If a constituent has a problem with a raccoon in their attic, there are companies called PAC agents, problem animal control. If there's a public place that's posing threat, and it's an animal that somebody in the community thinks, or a public official thinks it is dangerous to the community, we're not going to sit back and wait for environmental police to respond. So when it comes to wildlife, on people's property, in people's houses, that kind of thing, there are other agencies that respond to those. And again, we call those PAC agents, problem animal control. There are lots of regulations about what animals can be trapped and relocated, and people have to be licensed to be able to do that. What I will say is if there is a situation where somebody is concerned about the safety of the public, especially when it comes to public places, somebody's in threat, we're going to respond. And there are certainly some animals that animal control has the means to deal with, and then some of those which surely is out of our control and safety. And so my message would be is wildlife really should be left alone. But again, when it comes to situations where wildlife is coming in contact and posing a direct threat, an immediate threat to people, you would call us. And if it's not something that we can't, that we can manage, then we're going to contact the professionals that can. So we always look at schools, libraries, those kinds of things where people could be in danger if a raccoon is, acting weirdly and kids are going to get out of school. Those kinds of things. So under normal circumstances, wildlife is not what we deal with in animal control, but we want to be a part of ensuring the safety of our community. And so that's what we're here for. And if there is a situation like that, we will respond. And if we can mitigate it, if people are at risk, then we're going to do that. So, but we're surely not, city animal control is not there to, for the bears and the cougars and those kinds of things. But it just, a lot of it is common sense, and animals don't want anything to do with us. And you talk about people, the bear getting, the hot dogs. It's the same thing with cats in our community. People start feeding cats and then they wonder why they keep coming right to their property. Again, so under normal circumstances, if there's not a threat to the public, and when I say the public, that's, schools and things like that, we're going to respond. On private property, if there's a wild animal, there are agencies that will trap and remove wildlife that can be removed.
Thank you, Laurie. Maybe you could share some of the contact information for these agencies, because in my daughter's case, my son-in-law was with my grandpuppy Baxter out in the backyard, and he had Baxter on the leash, and she's got a picture of her backdoor cam of the bear climbing up on the fence and eyeing Baxter. So I agree with you. We kind of live and let live, and just be careful when you walk out your front door and watch for the amount of wildlife that is now in the neighborhoods. But at the same time, sometimes you wonder how far it might go.
Yeah, and again, any of those large wild mammals that are out there, the appropriate places is the police, and they are automatically, should be in contact with the environmental police, because I know they track those sightings as well. But I will send an email with some of those, some of those pack agent things for people if they have nuisance animals that are on their property.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll make a motion. The order's been complied with.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, Lori, for taking time out of your day to join us, especially feeling a little under the weather. We appreciate it. And we'll report this to the city council and be sure to let folks know who they should call. We appreciate all that you do in our community.
Appreciate having the opportunity to jump in and say a few words.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to take 3 off the table.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion is to take item 3, that the Honorable City Council vote that the City of Holyoke accept the proposal and sell 107 Clemente Street for $34,700 to Housing Innovations and Programming, Inc., a division of Holyoke Housing Authority. The property is described in the City Assessor Records as Map 28, Block 3, Parcel 2, consisting of approximately 6,534 square feet of vacant land. It's zoned as downtown residential and has an assessed value of $34,700. We are joined this evening by Matt Mainville, Executive Director of the Housing Authority. So thank you for being here, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
Party, there's all kinds of sugar on the table.
Oh yeah, it's Halloween, All right, so do you want to walk us through the proposal? I can.
Sure. This is a piece of property that abuts our Boudry Boucher apartment building that's located on 68 Cabot.
Should I invite Aaron and John? Do you want to come in now, or do you want me to just? Okay, cool. Keep going. Sorry.
And so abuts our 68 Cabot Street property. The property has been vacant for a while. The Housing Authority has an interest to use it as green space to improve the living condition for the folks that live at Boudry Boucher. We have just recently done some landscaping upgrades there and would really like to take an opportunity to extend that onto that property for some passive recreation and maybe for some additional parking spaces.
Okay.
Just as an explanation of what HIP is an instrumentality of the Holyoke Housing Authority. It has a mirror board with our Housing Authority board. The officers are all employees of the Housing Authority, and HIP allows the Housing Authority to be able to apply for funds, a Housing Authority would not be able to. So it is an instrumentality of the Housing Authority that allows us access to additional funds, and in this case would own the property.
Thank you. And these, just for my own clarification, additional funds that the Housing Authority can't itself apply for?
Yeah, like development dollars, quite frequently for example, 9% tax credits, housing authorities cannot apply for. So it just opens more doors for funding for development activities that the Housing Authority would be interested in undertaking.
Okay. All right. So we have information before us, counselors, that shows the map and the photo, the assessor property card, and I'm gonna pause and see if open it up for questions from counselors. And I'll also just say we are joined online by Counselor Rivera. Israel Rivera, sorry, you're here in person. Counselors, any questions? Counselor Bartley, go ahead.
Yeah, Matt, welcome back. Okay, so what, I hear your plan, but I don't know if that's consistent with HIP's mission statement. You're supposed, it says you're developing and rehabbing and all the rest of that. So, I guess you could have, if you're buying through HIP, which is your development wing, and you say it's about development, and then we say that this is not going to be developed at all, it's going to be parking and open space. Oh, what am I missing?
Well, I think in totality, when you look at it in a global sense, there is development that's going to happen on a vacant piece of property that is nothing but an eyesore in that neighborhood, currently speaking. Lends itself towards collection of litter and trash. We will be developing passive recreation on the site for the benefit of folks that live at our property. So I guess my question back is, why wouldn't it be considered development?
Well, because the primary purpose is to develop, construct, sponsor, manage, improve, and make available housing. So that's not housing. I hear what you're doing. It sounds like a nice plan, Matt.
Yeah. Manage and improve, right? We don't have to get into semantics. I'm not really concerned about that. But my main question is, why aren't we developing it into making a duplex or something else? Why aren't we creating housing? To be quite honest with you, we have had a need for space there for parking. If you go through the alleyway, you'll recognize that there's not an appropriate place for the dumpster. The whole alleyway itself actually needs improvement, and so this would lend itself to those highest and best use for the Housing Authority and the residents that we serve.
Okay, the source of the funds, what is it? So HIP has its own, must have its own budget, and so.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an instrumentality of the Housing Authority. We have been lucky enough to come into some administrative fees into our central office cost center that would be moved over into HIP so that they could undertake the construction and the purchase of the property.
And just HIP is, I understand it's a charitable organization, so how's it organized?
It's a 501c3.
Okay, so once the conveyance is made, there probably wouldn't be, unless you, and we've had this conversation before, but unless we figure out the pilot stuff, there's going to be nothing back to the city other than it'd be a cleaner lot and it's good parking for the residents.
No,
I think that, but
in this particular instance, and I think that's another reason to have HIP participate. As we know, the Housing Authority, and you know this from your years as an auditor, is that we have a prescribed pilot with both DHCD and HUD, and has been signed by the city. And so in this particular case, the RFP clearly called out that we would have to pay a property tax on it, and so we recognize that, and that's another reason that it makes sense to have HIP participate, whereas the Housing Authority would be bound by a declaration of trust that would require us to abide by those prescribed pilot agreements with the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Counselors, anyone else? Questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer as described.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Okay.
So that's 4 yeas. We will let you know when our next city council meeting is in November.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you.
Thank
all.
you, appreciate it.
Happy Halloween.
Alrighty,
Make a motion to take 4 off the table.
is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Item number 4. Ordered that the city council approve a license agreement between the City of Holyoke, Canal Row LLC for the use of a portion of the sidewalk located at the intersection of Race and Middle Streets for the construction of an ADA-compliant ramp. So this evening, we are joined by Attorney Barnes. Thank you for being here. And we're also joined by the property owner, Marco Luzuriaga. Excuse me. And I believe we have from the city, Attorney Bissonette is on this call as well. I don't know if Attorney Bissonette, you want to start with anything, or should we just, I'd be fine having Attorney Barnes present.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think Attorney Barnes can present the business agreement.
Sounds good. Welcome.
Nice to be back.
Yes.
I'm hoping this is pretty straightforward. It's actually just an egress on the side of the building on Middle Street. It's not a ramp there. There's actually handicap access on other sides of the building, but it is reconstructing the egress that was already at this building and sort of has deteriorated over time. So we're just looking for a license agreement. We had actually asked for an easement, but the city proposed a license agreement, which was fine with us. The change we did make, they wanted us to come back every 2 years. I suggested every 10, given the idea that, wood deteriorates, maybe the needs of people change at that point, but every 2 years seemed a little excessive for just a point of entry into a building. As you know, the owners actually do own other property a little bit down the street. They do keep up with it, so I don't see a need to come in any sooner than what would naturally occur for that staircase. So,
Okay.
I've presented you with the license agreement, red line, as well as some of the plans that they proposed. There's a whole bunch of copies there for everybody. But it's about 14 feet
it's the
by
same
5 feet. There would still be room to get around that entranceway, so.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Sure.
If you know that area, right now.
Can you speak
There's a ramp. Okay. Right now, there's a handicap access ramp, and there was also an egress staircase from the second floor, which we removed. And so, in general, it's going to be a lot smaller, the footprint, than what is currently there. And we're rebuilding the sidewalk also to put a proper sidewalk. Right now, it's only dirt.
And you are?
Marco Luzuriaga.
Oh, okay, Marco, okay. Nice to see you, Marco.
Thank you, Marco.
Okay, I do have a question.
Sure, Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to you both. Marco, you've been here before too. I thought you said you were the architect, but I knew you weren't, but this is from the architect, so I'll get my ears cleaned. Yeah, whatever, 10 years, it sounds reasonable, but I'm glad that Mike suggested a license instead of an easement. Where are we with the liability insurance?
Do you have the insurance on the building?
Yes. Yeah, we have, well, right now it's construction insurance. We do have a general liability policy, and we will continue to. That property is, well, it's been empty for at least 10, maybe 15 years. We purchased it, and we're putting offices, kind of co-working offices, Armor Works on the second floor. And the whole concept is basically you're a member, but in this case, it will only be small, what we call micro offices, 120 square feet, and month to month, fully furnished. There's no lease, and they're very popular. The one that we have right now at Coworks are always full. First floor is going to be a restaurant. It's going to be a wood-fired pizza. And so really it's, we need a second egress, right, for fire purposes, and there has to be certain distances, and it makes sense to keep that one right there. The property and the building go right up to the line, to the sidewalk, so there's really no other place than to go out.
Well, that sounds like an exciting project, so I'm really happy to hear all that intel. Just as far as my question goes, all we're doing is, there's virtually no possibility of a claim. However, I'm not going to vote to approve this unless I see proof of insurance where the city is named as an additional insured. So that should be a super duper low hurdle. If you could just send that as a communication before the next city council meeting, which will be the third Tuesday in November, right? That's when we'll take all these things up. If you could just send it to Jeff and he'll add his, or to Brenna, and she'll add as a communication to our agenda, and that's all I would really need to fully support this. So I'll make, when we're ready, I'll make a motion to recommend it, but I need to see that the city's insured, okay?
Yeah. Now, yes, I'll send it, but those we renew every year. Our general liability. So,
you're just naming the city's additional insured, and it's in your license agreement. So
yeah. Okay.
It's one of the conditions.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion. Everybody set? I'll make a motion that we recommend adoption, just contingent upon getting the proof of insurance.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any discussion? I'm sorry, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Nice work. Good luck.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to take item 5.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So item number 5, actually, can we take items 5 and 6 as a package?
So moved.
Second.
So, item 5 is that the Office of Planning and Economic Development and the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority attend an upcoming Development Government Relations meeting to update the council on the urban renewal plan and ongoing projects related to the plan. And item 6 is the Redevelopment Authority summary of activities from November 1st, 2021 to October 31st, 2022. So, we have a solid crew from OPED and the Redevelopment Authority. Come on in. Thank you for being here.
Well, good evening, yeah.
Good evening. Yes, happy Monday.
I know it's been a little scheduling to get us to have this conversation, but all good.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. How about I have you guys just introduce yourselves for folks who may not be familiar? We'll start.
Tom Creed, member of the Redevelopment Authority and a former chair during the period of time that you're discussing.
Daphne Ford, the current chair of the Redevelopment Authority.
Great.
Microphones, guys.
Oh, don't forget your microphone.
That was the Wizard of Oz.
I know it.
Yeah. Say that one more time for the record.
Yeah, Tom Creed, member of the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority and chair of the authority during the period of time that you're discussing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Daphne Board, the current chair of the Redevelopment Authority.
Great. Thanks for being here. And we're also, just want to recognize Councilor Bacon is here. Thank you. And so I'm going to let our friends from OPED kick us off, and hopefully we can just have a nice little conversation, catching up on what you guys have all been working on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting to kind of look back and not just talk about what we're doing today. But obviously, thank you again for the partnership, and obviously the work we do is a lot dependent on the vision coming from this council and the mayor, and then of course working with you when it comes to property disposition and acquiring property. So during this time period that's in front of you, obviously you can see that the two major projects we were working on, both which are come to fruition, if you will, to some degree. South Holyoke Homes, HRA was charged with aggregating a number of properties for the South Holyoke Homes project, and we've actually, I don't think you have it yet. I'm not sure when the Holyoke Housing Authority's report will come out, but we'll also be mentioning phase 3 for the projects down there, and that was again all of the efforts of mostly of John Dijek and the Redevelopment Authority to get that property. Dealing with that issue took us a while. And then, of course, wind development. There was a number of doubters along the way, 7 years in the making, but they are on site now for phase 1, 86 units of housing, rehabilitation of the mill building, actually 2.5 mill buildings, and we're working with them to, in the administration at the state level, to try to fast track phase 2. So it does take a long time. You can see the efforts, again, for those two projects particularly. I would say just given now, we're looking a lot with working with mass development and TDI, particularly on High Street. So again, I think there was 2 properties that we recently got reallocated to the HRA. So we're looking to partner on those properties. And we're also spending some time looking at what other redevelopment authorities are doing. We're actually talking to Springfield and Brockton and others, and just trying to share best practices and best ideas, and seeing what some of the next steps will be for the housing authority. For the redevelopment authority. The one other thing I would say, just I'm sure that people already know this, but just in case. Because we send our minutes, but obviously we know that Jay Wellahan was the governor's appointment for many years, and the new administration at the state level did appoint a new person for the governor's seat. That's Patrick Beaudry. In addition to our former chair and current chair who are here today, we also have Carl Eager is on there and Jorge Colon. Who's our members. So good group, diverse group, and again, I think that they're really interested in trying to think about what the Redevelopment Authority can do for High and Main Street as we look at our urban renewal plan. So we're here to sort of go over this report with you. We're actually working on the latest report, so you should have that probably in your inboxes by the end of the year. We can reconvene at the beginning of the new year to talk about that updated report, but here to kind of catch up on the stuff that we've been doing and hear some other ideas and thoughts on the conversation we can have tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, and I'm definitely not expecting you to go line by line on everything for the report. But some of the highlights, I'm sure, will be good to hear about, and maybe just some of the challenges that you've come across would be interesting. But I'll pause and see if anyone has any questions so far. All right. So, how do you want to do this?
I'm happy to talk about a couple of highlights.
Yeah. We're ready. We're ready. Yes, yeah.
I mean, it sort of gets into this year, but a definite highlight is South Holyoke Homes and just seeing phase 1 built and open and occupied, and the transformation of the neighborhood. I'm certainly excited for phase 2 to get in action and help build more in the area. And I mean, the other huge highlight is, of course, 216 Appleton, the Far Alpaca Mills, and seeing wind development there, seeing that they're, actively working towards phase 2. Aaron, I think we're okay to mention the grant that was.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's public knowledge.
So yeah, we applied for the underutilized properties grant and got $600,000 towards stabilizing the second phase of the Far Alpaca wind development, 216 Appleton. So nice. That's really exciting. Yeah, those are my highlights for now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Aaron, you said it was a 7-year project. I kind of did like an email search this morning and saw that there was like 10 years ago, 216 Appleton was just beginning to be sort of cleaned up in terms of asbestos removal and stuff, which I found just interesting in terms of thinking about, you know, buildings in general and kind of the mothballing aspect where, you know, things happen and it happens on a super slow long-term, you know, timeline, unfortunately, but it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 12 years ago that we wrote that plan. I think it was 12 years ago. Seems like yesterday. But it's taken that long. But, you know, a lot of people who were involved in putting that plan together all said there's a reason they're 20 and 30-year plans, because it takes that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fact that we've been able to do some of the stuff in 12, I guess, we're ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
And I would just add one, and then to a question, but I just add, like, you know, you mentioned challenges. I think one of the challenges that we face, you know, like any developer and any development company, you know, even one that was approved recently by the City Council is, you know, 123 Pine Street, which we just love, the Alpine Building. It's a lot of great things happening along Dwight Street. We know that residential units there will stabilize that neighborhood even more. And, you know, just the climate for development right now. I mean, they're behind schedule. The funding is different than it was a year ago. You know, so we continue to work with them, and it's still moving forward. But it's, you know, we were really hopeful that it would just be like, let's get this done. But of course, costs increase, capacity issues. So I think that's why we're cautious when we you know, try to dispose of property, to make sure that it's going to the people that can actually get it done. But even when we, you know, are trying to utilize some of our local developers, and not always just trying to go to the Boston and New York folks who, you know, sometimes don't know what's going on in this community, it's still a challenge to make these projects happen. So, you know, one of the reasons why wind development was such a long process also was, of course, the gathering of historic tax credits, which will continue to be the bane of many people's existence in the state of Massachusetts. Great program that's, you know, sort of not doled out in an effective way. So even just gathering those tax credits once approved once we got the property and, you know, had the plan in place, just the timeline of gathering those historic tax credits and then light tech credits just to put the portfolio funding together is just a huge challenge.
Yeah. Thank you. Questions so far from any city councilors? Councilor McGill.
Thank you. Who's the governor's appointment? Is there one?
Pat Beaudry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ian, what is the wind development project? I mean, I know where it is, but what is it?
It's 88 units. Well, phase one is 88 units of 55 and over housing. And then phase two, I think, is like 75 or 76 additional units. Just that whole bank of mill buildings on the first level canal between Appleton and Cabot.
Okay. And that'll be privately owned, taxable property. I'm sorry to ask about taxable property, but the city provides a lot of service, and we're running out of money to provide the services that everybody needs. I think South Holyoke Homes is tremendous, you know, and I know it's a little different, but it's the transformation of the neighborhood. It's kind of taken up, you know, or maybe almost a partnership with Nueva, what Nueva was doing for many years. But at the same time, I think it looks great, and there's, you know, the whole South Holyoke neighborhood looks great in terms of the transformation and what's going on. And I think that's the starship right in the middle of it. Thank you. Tom, you've been around too long.
No.
Interesting choice of words.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a second.
I can say that.
You can, because you've been around. No, I'm just kidding.
Just one quick comment. I mean, I'm gonna be here 3 years in January in this position. I'm not sure where it started. I know Councilor Barley, we've talked about it. Every RFP we put out through the Redevelopment Authority says it's gonna be taxable property. The garden on Dwight Street pays taxes. So if you're getting property, I think now even from the city across the board, they're paying taxes. So that is in our RFPs or any kind of negotiations that we'll do directly with the developer. But again, like I said, the garden on Dwight Street pays taxes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not much, but.
Yeah.
I could just add, please. I think that the project on Appleton with wind development is really a very large one. It's about $60 million project. It's also the land across the street, which is 191 Appleton. And when actually there was a former landscaping company between the police department and the Boys and Girls Club that they purchased, and they're actually building a community center for that development with a walkway over the railroad that will connect the buildings. So it's really going to be a nice project. But beyond that, I just want to also mention that when we started the urban renewal plan, the goal was to be strategic in the properties that were listed, because we can't take on everything, and the idea was to do properties that would stimulate private investment, and we've starting to see that. The gentleman who was here just a few minutes ago, Marco Luzuriaga, and his brother, who've done the Cubit development, are now doing the Armor building, and we've worked very closely with them, and actually we're able to, for lack of a better word, broker a deal with Mass DOT, where there was an old rail parcel, which was, you know, a very small piece of land, but all of these projects and parcels, there's so many steps, and so we were actually able to help them acquire a small piece of land where now they can have a patio on the southern side of the building and make the property really nice. So many more examples of our efforts, but I just wanted to mention those couple of things.
Thank you. I see Councilor Rivera has his hand up on Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to say thank you for all the work that you guys have been putting in. For the people that are putting in the work now, and for the people that put in the work in the past, it's cool to see all the work come together and culminate a whole bunch of different projects. Well, not a whole bunch, 2 significant projects, but a lot of work going into it between 2 different eras, and it's always awesome trying to like map that out and see how it comes together at the end of the day. My question is more about, or it's like a comment, I guess. It's more about what's coming in the pipeline and what are we looking for moving forward after these projects are done. And not to say that they're done now, because obviously it takes time, right? But like, are we going into like more home ownership, like larger projects in different parts of the community, or are we just like, I don't know, just to have like an idea of what are some other things that are coming up down the pipeline if possible. And thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Councilor, and I know that you attended one of the meetings back in the day, and a lot of councilors have dropped in. I would not say that we're not, the redevelopment authority is not going to develop a housing project. We're going to try to find the partner to do a housing project, and that's our sort of role. Our ability to be able to work directly with developers based on the urban renewal plan, from the input from the community and from the electeds at the time. So again, I think that we're trying to come back and focus on High and Main Street. There's some activity on High Street with TDI and mass development. We're trying to look at that. We're also really trying to figure out our next step for the space on Race Street between the Cubit and the Armor building, which has been mentioned tonight a few times. There was a project there that we were hoping to have come to fruition, but one of the main tax incentives at the state level, the HDIP program, was just not available. Only recently became newly available, and really not available yet, but at least newly funded. So I think that we're in a sort of a moment where some new people on the board to sort of look again at the urban renewal plan. The 2 properties that we were able to receive via the City Council on High Street, we're talking to how do we activate those spaces next summer, get them attractive, and then get them ready for development. As you know, especially places like High Street and Main Street are still really not attracting as much private development as we want. So there's still some hurdles to come there, and so we're about activating spaces, working with partners, working with the businesses there. We just had a meeting I just had a meeting before this one with the TDI business partnership about some additional funds of how they're going to spend it on High Street for making things cleaner and safer. So we're hoping to be part of that movement. But again, we're bound by the urban renewal plan, and so those are the properties and the projects that we sort of target. And we're hoping to be able to, again, focus some efforts on High Street, and again, that main parcel that we are focused on that is somewhat owned by the redevelopment authority already, and some of the parcels are already city, but already allocated to be moved if we get a project there on Race Street between the Cubit and the Armor building that's being developed now. I'm not sure if there's
Can
other.
I just clarify?
Yeah, please.
I just want to say, when you mention High Street, it's. I think we're talking about more southern High Street, and I just don't want to take away from the active business
Right.
environment that exists already on northern
Absolutely.
High Street, for sure. I mean, we're not talking about, redeveloping an area that's.
That's how things going on, absolutely. Our focus is on the southern end of High Street, basically with the TDI, basically from almost basically when you come on High Street from 391 up to about Appleton Street. But we are pushing that boundary with things like, business improvement, facade programs, lighting programs that we're get some money for, trash, etc. So we are able to sort of look at the whole Main Street, High Street, but you're right. Our focus for TDI is the southern end of High Street.
Yeah, in
All right, so,
response to,
and I'm sorry, just real quick, and thank you again for all that. So like, for one of the things for me is, and it's because it's questions that I'm getting from a lot of different constituents, is about like, mostly like newer homes and home ownership, but what you're talking about, that's not, obviously, it's more of like a business type of sense, what the next things that we're looking at, with regards to where we're at. But I only bring that up because, again, a lot of people are asking about like, hey, why are we building new homes? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And it's a part of it, right? But like, I just wanted to see where we were moving for, or where we're moving around, and what games, not games, but like where we're putting our interest right now. Because at the end of the day, yeah, High Street is important, Main Street is important, a lot of these spots are important, and thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, I know Tom has something to say, but that's one of the reasons why Holyoke Housing Authority was picked for the South Holyoke Homes project, was because Phase 2 does have home ownership. That's the focus of Phase 2. And then Phase 3 is to be determined a mix of rental and home ownership. So you're exactly right, Council. We definitely want to start to bring in home ownership opportunities in South Holyoke, in the flats, and start to look at that generational wealth that's needed in this community. And again, the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority can play the role really just to sort of find those right developers and aggregate that property to hopefully make things happen.
yeah, and thanks, Aaron. I was actually going to make the point about homeownership in Phase 2, because that is a critical part of the plan. And I also want to point out that as from a timing perspective and how we prioritize things, it's so often all about money and the availability of funding. You know, we all wish we could have done South Holyoke years ago, but it was really the Mass Works grant that got that started when that $6 million investment was made in infrastructure. And so now that we're looking at High Street, and that's because the TDI fellow is there and the funding that might come along with that. So if there's a funding source, we're going to chase it. But I absolutely agree that housing has always been a critical part of the plan, and it always will be.
And I don't think that, you know, we're focusing on South High Street and Main Street, but I don't think that precludes residential and home ownership opportunities.
Right.
So they may not be, well, I don't know, I can't really say, but like, you know, may not be like your typical single family, like maybe it's condos or you know, co-ops or something like that.
And I think even Wayfinder's plan in that sector is mixed use, including residential.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor McGivern?
I couldn't agree more. I think the private ownership is important, and duplexes, condos, co-ops, it makes a lot of sense. The Library Park Commons is incredible, you know, and to continue similar type projects like that on High Street would make a lot of sense. I think be helpful to the neighborhood. And residential is the key. You know, I just have to promote, you know, some taxable income property, because we have to pay for the services that residents need and want. Now I'm going to switch my hat, because John reminded me of something. The behalf of the Holyoke Merry-Go-Round, who's celebrating our 30th anniversary in early December, 30th anniversary in Heritage Park, we're going to welcome our new neighbors from Wynn. I was familiar with 191 Appleton Street, but I wasn't sure what was going on across the street. We do want to ask one thing of the developer, and maybe you could help us out. We have a little problem getting Santa Claus to the merry-go-round in December. Santa Claus comes in by train, by tradition. We can't get a train through until that overpass is completed and the development is completed, and the railroad can continue to get Santa Claus in to see. And we've actually had some weddings come in from Westfield to a wedding reception at the merry-go-round by train. So it's something we'd like to see in the near future. More important, there's been some partnership with HEDIC. We looked at and tried to talk about how we could maybe merge both committees. It doesn't look like it's doable, but there's ways to partner. You know, there's a loan that, you know, is being paid back. There's other things that HEDIC is about to take on. I think that, and I'm sure I'm not speaking for OPED, but I'm sure OPED is, you know, told the Redevelopment Authority that there's a lot of things that I think we can do, you know, together and help the development, because it's what it's all about. And the more we develop, I was kind of quiet earlier, but that what you know, they've done with the brothers have done with the Cubit building and Gateway, and that whole little, you know, street right there is also a great plus for the city, and looking forward to future development. You know, even if I am stepping down time, I'm still looking.
And I know that during my tenure and during Daphne's tenure, we've encouraged joint meetings with HEDIC, and I think we should do that.
Other councilors, comments or questions? Okay. Not seeing any other ones online. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come in and tell us everything that's going on. You know, I have also had a unique perspective working in the Office of Planning and Economic Development before this. So I know how long things take. I was there for the first grant that cleaned up 216 Appleton. So it's great to see how much progress is made. It's also obvious how long things take. So thank you for trying to create more opportunities for economic development and housing and home ownership. Those are the things that will really help improve public safety and just opportunities for folks. So appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the opportunity for an update. And the minutes are always great, so thank you. We do like to read them. And I will entertain a motion that this has been complied with.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes.
It
And
was Saturday night here.
yeah. Seems like it was a while ago, huh? Yeah. All right, so item 7. Motion to take item 7 off the table.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. This is just a follow-up from our conversation about the order filed by Councilor Rivera for the paint stewardship legislation. And at that conversation, Councilor Bartley mentioned we should probably file something to create a resolution in support of it. So I don't know, Councilor Bartley, do you have anything you want to add to? Go for it.
Yeah, so in speaking with, at that night, I said to Mr. Irvin that we don't, in this body, we usually put out a resolution, and when we want to support something, and he sent us a communication resolution in support of paint stewardship, and I think he did a really great job. I only had a few very small, minor changes in his bullet points. I think that the only one I really couldn't amend is the first bullet point that I think we're going to need some details from Department of Public Works on that. So it says, blank tons of discarded materials are sent to disposal and recycling at a cost of blank, total hauling and processing. So I think I can make a motion now to refer that question to Carl as the superintendent and just get a communication to us. So I'll make that motion now relative to this resolution.
I'll second that. Great. Any discussion? Any other discussion?
Yeah, just discussion on that would be, reasonable period of time to get it back. I mean, I don't want to monopolize this, but hopefully this is for FY22. So I would, maybe even has an updated one for FY23. So I'll amend it to say FY22 and 23.
Okay.
And if you could just send a communication to, I think you just send it to Jeff, and then we can accept
Sure.
it at the next DGR meeting, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
And if you could do it in a month,
Is
that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's my motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
And then the other two things was, on the second bullet point, he says all municipal landfills in Mass will be closed by 2030. I don't know that to be true, so I guess I'd want to see that supported, but you could change to say municipal landfills in Mass are rapidly closing. I think that's fair to say.
More general, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair to say. And then the only other bullet point, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the seventh bullet point, a law supporting discarding of liquid latex at participating retail stores and transfer stations. He says has strong support from constituents. I think it says, we'll generate strong. I don't know. I don't have a poll on that, so I would just say we'll generate strong support for constituents. And the other one was be resolved, City of Holyoke. So
Okay.
Those are my minor changes to his draft. So I'll make the motion to incorporate the minor changes as described, and then get it back to us as a communication.
Okay. And, okay. Any discussion?
No, it's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. It was a good order. I think Councilor Rivera filed this, and
Yeah.
we had a good discussion with Mr. Irwin. He was sitting over there, and so
Great.
yeah, we want to be supportive, and I think this is probably the best way we can be supportive, in my humble opinion.
All righty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
So on the main motion, I guess the motion would be to table this for another time.
Sounds good. Is there a second to table? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Right, and the last motion is to adjourn.
And I'll take a second.
Second, third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.